But you don't have a direct say.
Taxes are mandatory, period, put up in a dot.
How long will you wait for this best deal to come while the economy collapses? And with this...
Speaking about a man who has decided that because you have not voted, I will not support you. The duty of government.
Hello and thank you for joining us. This is, of course, your program, Affairs on the Edge, and I'm Ricardo Campbell. Now, there has been controversial issues as it relates to the Southwest Member of Parliament, Mr. Everard Warmington, as it relates also to the no vote, no count issue. And we want to delve deeper into those issues. And of course, joining me is the esteemed panelists that we have, well, to my immediate left. And in short order, I will introduce them to you. But let me bring you back to what Mr. Warmington said. Now, this is a direct quote. You can't ask for government benefits when you refuse to participate in the governance of your country. I don't know how others perform, but in Southwest St. Catherine, them have a vote to talk to me. If you don't vote, you don't count. The words of Everard Warmington. And of course, we will join my esteemed panel as we take a break in Affairs on the Edge. Do come back with us. Welcome back, and indeed, thank you for joining us again. To my immediate left, we have Chantal Spence, who is a member of the civil society. Thank you so much for joining us. And also to her immediate left is research specialist in the Department of Communication Studies at the Northern Caribbean University in Mandeville. Thank you so much, Ms. Tamika Wilson, for joining us. And to her immediate left is the sole male person on our panel, Mr. Javon Minto, who is a member of that constituent. Thank you so much, Mr. Minto. We look at the aspect of the breach of democratic legislation. Is this, or his comments, do you find that if, well, the minister clearly states that he will not help anyone in his constituents if they did not vote, do you think that this is an act or a breach of democratic legislation? Let me start with you, Mr. Minto.
Absolutely. There is no doubt or questions about whether or not this is a breach of democratic legislation. Because first of all, you talk about each constituency being given a constituency development fund. And you ask, what's the source of that fund? And it goes right back to ground zero. The people contribute towards it. So how dare you withdraw or withhold benefits from the people because what they stayed away from a process that, you know, they don't see solving anything that you have been there for years, and it's the same thing over and over again.
Ms. Spencer, I see you agreeing, so
I am in complete collusion with Mr. Minto over here. It absolutely is something that we would like for our people to do. It is a right, it is a wish that the government has, that people will participate in the democratic process that is voting. However, it is not a responsibility. It is not a responsibility. The only responsibility there is for the members of parliament within their constituencies to provide for each and every single one of their constituents.
And you don't think that his comments, though, would be a bit crass or over the edge, because he's saying that to provide those benefits, you have to respect him, per se, my words, in terms of voting for me.
It goes without saying that Everard Warmington, every other word that comes out of his mouth is questionable. Why he chooses to speak the way he does is really something that we wonder at. We wonder how he got into Parliament, but that is a whole other issue.
Why did he not bring a private member's motion to the floor of Parliament instead of being so ridiculous and, you know...
Let me bring in the research specialist, Mr. Wilson. What do you think? Do you think it is an act of or a breach of legislation?
At present, yes.
Thank you.
However, he has brought to our attention an option that Jamaica can explore.
And what is that option?
Mandatory voting.
Mandatory voting?
Yes.
How do we go about enacting mandatory voting in Jamaica?
The Constitution of Jamaica already provides, based on interpretation, a way for that to happen. It says that each company, each employee has to be given time to go and vote.
Yes,
if the
sure.
Constitution provides them to this mandatory time to participate in this activity, then I am suggesting that we ensure they go and do what they have been given the time to do, or we remove this from the Constitution. Amendments have been made all the time.
No, you don't.
Why do you
go so
agree?
far.
Why disagree, Mr. Minto?
Because if the Constitution provides the opportunity for people to go and vote, it's not to say it's mandatory voting in itself. It's a civic
You have
duty.
missed my point altogether.
I've not
I am
missed your
saying
point.
the Constitution, what he asked was,
Yes.
how do we get there? And I'm saying the Constitution, based on interpretation, provides a way for us to get there.
Well, we have some comments coming in on Facebook and also some on our text lines. Now, Peter in Trelawney, he says, and I quote, "I agree with him. They never voted, so they do not have the right to say anything whatsoever. They never contributed to their input in the first place." And end quote. And Keisha from Spalding says, "I think it's a foolishness. It's your right to vote, and it's also your right not to vote. Once you are a citizen of this country, then you should be able to seek assistance from your member of parliament. I don't think that is fair, and he should be reprimanded." Brian from Kingston chimes in on Facebook, and he says, "I believe he is right. If you never voted them in, you never exercised your right. So you don't think that the right to be going to them for help is anyway necessary." And our final comment on our text line, Loyton from St. Catherine, the same constituency we're speaking of. "Whether or not you vote, everyone in Jamaica is entitled to each and everything. He had no right to make that statement, and he also has no right to be a member of parliament." Now, Javon Minto, I start with you. Now, the very act of everyone must vote to have their rights and to have their say as a Jamaican citizen, do you think that it should be, or voting should be a legal obligation instead of being a civil right?
Voting should never be a legal obligation. You know why? Because the person or the interest groups that will benefit when voting becomes mandatory are the political parties. You know, you can ask Ms. Wilson, who will disagree with my statement, no doubt. What difference does voting make? And she will try to say, what?
What evidence do you have that the member of parliament or the members of parliament will benefit?
No, because when voting becomes mandatory, when you see such a large voter turnout, such as in Australia, the political parties actually benefit. There are more donors on board because what? Capitalism can gain their benefit from having the political parties where they want them to be.
Two things I would like to
Yes,
say.
go ahead, Ms. Wilson.
The definition of mandatory or compulsory voting does not force one to actually cast the vote. It simply means you have to show up. The definition of compulsory voting, one, depending on the country, you literally have to cast a ballot. It could be a spoiled ballot, but you actually have to put a mark. Secondly, for countries such as Australia, as mentioned by Mr. Minto, you simply need to go and strike your name off to say you were present. The definition of compulsory voting speaks to both of them. Now, another thing, Leighton, I think, is the last person you read. He said everybody in Jamaica is entitled to and should get everything. Now, some persons give up their rights to things. When you're born, there are some things you should get because you're a human being, because you're a Jamaican citizen. However, you don't get to vote until you're a certain age. 21 in most Arab countries, 18 in Jamaica, such it is. However, if I commit a crime, I have given up my right to freedom. I have given up my right to vote.
Your right to vote is taken away.
My right to vote is taken away. So everybody's not entitled to everything.
Of course, there has been, remember to check out our website at affairsontheedgeja.com, or you can go to Affairs on the Edge. That is the page program will be posted on your website, on our website, and you can visit that there. Okay, on behalf of my production team, and indeed all our viewers across Jamaica and the world, and indeed our esteemed panel, we thank you for joining us for Affairs on the Edge, where we dig deeper into issues that affect indeed Jamaica. I'm Ricardo Campbell, and indeed, wow, good.